Welcome to the Meat and Potatoes podcast. We're here with Aniza Brown, who's the CEO of the Rosie Project. How are you?
Good. How are you?
Good. It's good to see you again. I haven't seen you for a while, but we've shared the stage in the podcast studio various times over the years. And I always describe you as a bit of a dynamo and somebody that gets things done, whether you agree or not, but that's how I describe you.
I'd agree.
Perfect. We'll talk a lot about the Rosie Project, but you've also been heavily involved in aerospace and defense, hanging out up in the Ogden Hill Air Force Base area. I went to the air show this year.
Ooh.
Oh my gosh.
It was hot.
As good as it gets. Yeah, I don't mind that if there's like really cool jets flying around.
I know.
It's just, it makes you proud.
I know. I was proud of the F-35s and the C-130s.
Yeah.
They did a really good job.
They did an amazing job. It kind of boggles your mind that not that long ago they're flying kites and we're confused by that.
Yeah,
And I know. Now they've got it all figured out.
Yeah.
Tell us a little bit about the Rosie Project. There's a lot to unfold there, and we'll go over all of the fun, cool details. But as you describe it to people and you want to get their attention, how do you do that?
Yeah. So the Rosie Project, it's a free program. Our whole initiative is to remove barriers of entry for military spouses into the world of tech. So what I do is I provide daycare, laptops. We try to remove as much as we can to ensure that they can have a lucrative career alongside their active duty member. It started off as an after-hours project and then boomed. So right now we're really growing quickly. So we have some in-country locations that we're expanding to, like Georgia and Ohio, Oklahoma, and then we also have some out-of-country. So we're looking at London, or really it's Aviano, Lakenheath, Mendenhall, a bunch of different bases where we can really support our male spouses. And I actually went out to the UK earlier this year and really got to see how bad it was for our male spouses out there, and to talk to them and understand we definitely just need to make sure that we are removing barriers of entry for them overseas, because that's where they're most segregated from others, from industry. So it's a huge initiative for me right now.
It's amazing. And if you look on the map of the world, there's little dots of military bases all over. And then in America, it's every state pretty much has like a big, whether it's Marine Corps, Army, Coast Guard, Air Force. And these are big installations with a lot of moving parts and a lot of people.
Yeah.
And if you're ever lucky enough to be on one, you'll see a lot of housing and you're like, oh, there's a post office and a supermarket. Like it's a standalone city.
It is.
And that includes like folks that sometimes are in areas that don't have a lot of other things going on once you leave the base. And I've always viewed this project, since I've learned about it through you, as like win, lose, or draw. Like this is a force multiplier for military spouses, whether they do anything with it or not. It helps them make friends, helps them learn new things. And then sometimes it's pretty lucrative little career adjustments, right? Yeah,
exactly. And I mean, there's so many remote jobs these days. You're able to get an IT job, move anywhere your significant other is, or one of the biggest things is the community component. Our military spouses come in and they have this insane amount of imposter syndrome, and they're saying like, oh, I don't belong here. And I'm like, I don't care what you come in with. Come in with no knowledge of IT, no knowledge of computers. Let me teach you. And that's really where we start. And we have a huge imposter syndrome program to really help our military spouses understand that they have held, like whether they volunteered or had a previous career position, they have these amazing skills. And I want to ensure that they understand how necessary and how much it means to me to have them in our program and to ensure that they have a path forward into tech. And it's been insane. Like we started with 20 students originally in our first baby cohort. I posted it like one day, like I made a little website and posted it, and then the first 2 cohorts completely filled up, and I freaked out and like pulled it back down. I was like, calm down. But it emphasized that there was a need there. And so we expanded the program to 40 military spouses in the program. We doubled our daycare. The daycare is my favorite part, walking by and hearing the kids laughing.
Yeah.
But now those military spouses have a community, and I'm going to actually be launching an application here soon that enables, as they move on, as they get careers, they can bring other military spouses along with them or help them when they move from location to location. One of the biggest things that a military spouse was telling me was that, if you're coming from like Lake and Heath out in the UK to Aviano in Italy, and someone's not picking up the phone for daycare, you have no idea if your kid's getting in. You have no idea what the program's like, what you need for it.
Yeah.
And so I was like, but we have these communities of people, and they just don't connect.
Yeah.
So I'm like trying to build something to bridge that gap.
Yeah.
That makes it easy.
Yeah. Not for the faint of heart, because you luckily have kind of a background in this industry, in this world, and they love them some red tape from time to time and some bureaucratic stuff from time to time. And it is interesting, right? Like if your boss says, hey, we'd love for you to like go to Omaha for 3 years, and you could be like, no, but that doesn't apply for most of the other folks like in uniform. It's like, oh, got my orders, and the spouse has no say, right?
No.
And you have to like restart constantly.
Every single time. And I'm actually very thankful for the state of Utah. So Governor Cox, GoEO, and Talent Ready Utah, they saw the value in it and actually funded us. They're the ones who got behind it and really helped us make the program. So just seeing what the state of Utah has done with this program and how impactful it's been to enable exactly what you're talking about. Our military spouses move from location to location. I had a military spouse who was going to Ramstein. I knew no one at Ramstein. And so I put it on my LinkedIn, like, anybody know anybody in IT at Ramstein? I need to get this person a job. And I had like 4 messages back, like saying, yeah, this is the person. We can get him a job. Like, let us know. And that community, that sense was like what we needed for our military spouses. Yeah. But yeah, I have had an extensive career in the DoD with red tape and all. Yeah. And I'm the banshee who likes to kind of walk that line of taking down the red tape or just shifting it a little bit to make things happen.
Yeah. I bet there's times you wish you had a flamethrower to burn all that red tape all at once. Yeah. But I guess it's there for a reason in some cases, but it takes patience and perseverance to navigate it. So the nuts and bolts of it, 6 weeks, and in person, obviously with the daycare element.
Yep, 6 months in person.
6 months, sorry, 6 months.
Yep, in person.
In person.
We provide daycare when they're in person. We shut down a whole week before they actually take their exams. They do their CompTIA certifications, which are recognized across the nation. And then host a big party for them after they graduate.
Yeah.
It's been awesome, and it doesn't finish there. For us, it's making sure that they get jobs.
Yeah.
So making sure that we're looking as to where they're going to go and apply that new found education. I want to make sure that we're bridging that gap. That's the important part, the placement. Yeah. Not just saying like, congratulations, you got a certificate. I hope you make it. Yeah. And we've actually slowed down quite a bit recently, just because I came down with like a cold, have breast cancer. So it kind of slowed down and the growth pattern slowed down. But at the same time, you just see across the nation individuals reaching out saying, when is RosieProject coming here? Just based off of what we've done in Utah. Yeah. And I'm just kind of so proud of what we have here.
Oh, for sure. And everyone that's involved should be proud as well. So it's a bit of scale it then nail it, right? So sadly, we can't clone you for all the different bases. But if you are able to expand once or twice a year, I'd say that's a monumental accomplishment and a lot of work. So as you do go to, let's say, Fort Benning for funsies, you'll need kind of a U there, right? How does that work?
So every time I go out to a base, I look for facilitators. Somebody who's going to be really either as a military spouse, has worked for the DoD, and understands what's necessary to build that sense of community. My biggest thing is I can't build that community from Utah. Yeah. So we're looking at Georgia. We're talking to a couple individuals out in Georgia to kind of lead that initiative. They know their community. They know what should be within that realm. and they can pull it together. So we do a massive kickoff here in Utah. We bring out the mayor, senior leaders from Hill Air Force Base to really try to build out that whole environment of you're safe, we are here to support you, and you can get shit done.
Mm-hmm.
And that's our big thing. We want people to feel like they have the potential. So our kickoff's massive. We have families, military spouses, and their kids running around. We said we're kid friendly, and like the first picture coming out of our event was like the founders and all the people that helped make it, and then this kid right in the middle of the picture, like running through it. It's like 80% of the picture, and I'm like, that's what Rosie's about.
Yeah, it is. That's good. And you might as well make a big splash, right? Because there's a lot of stuff out there, and if you don't make that big splash, you might just get lost in like the big bureaucratic shuffle.
Yeah.
I enjoy watching like my 35 to 40-year-old friends, their parents explain what they do. And if there's, or grandparents, I guess, if there's any electricity or computer, it's like they work in computers or IT, right?
Oh my gosh, yeah.
Which they're not wrong. But IT encompasses dozens, if not hundreds of jobs and or certificates, but the placement is key. How do you do that? Are they getting placed on base? Or is it virtual?
Mm-hmm.
They could work for anyone and everyone.
Yep. Those certifications are massive for even getting their foot in the door with IT. But we partner with a lot of industry, and then we also have, oh my gosh, we have so many of the bases engaging, and there's a lot of remote jobs coming up in the DoD.
Yeah.
So now you're filling a need for the Department of Defense.
Yeah.
It's not just military spouses getting certificates and growing a career. We have impact in the DoD and filling mission critical positions. We are building economic stability within the regions that we're supporting. It's pretty impactful.
Yeah. Yeah, I would assume after many cohorts and years of Rosie Project, you could actually find a little bit of economic stimulus with, oh, there's two incomes and they're buying more, going to amusement parks more.
Yeah.
It's hard to pull off what you're doing, but it's easy to understand the upside at the end.
Yeah.
Very cool. Do the jobs require clearances?
Sometimes they do.
Sometimes they do.
And it's actually it's ideal to have a military spouse go through and potentially get a clearance. If they don't want to do that, they want to go and work for Qualtrics or somebody else, we will reach out and see how we can get them jobs there. It's really where the military spouses want to end up.
Yeah.
But yeah, we have one of my favorite, not one of my favorite, can't really say that. One of the military spouses I've engaged with, she is working at Hill Air Force Base right now, and she has her clearance, she's getting things done, and everybody's like, she's the shining star of what the Rosie Project presents, is a military spouse who needed to get out of a current situation within their career to get into a better career opportunity.
Yeah.
Something with growth, not just stagnant. And that was a major thing for me. I think in the state of Utah, we've been really lucky to be able to offer this program because it's so hard. And you said it earlier. Every time they're moving, they're having to, if they were a hairdresser, build clientele or start over every single time. And so if they have an IT career, it can move with them anywhere they go.
Yeah. You don't have to relearn all the acronyms and all of that. Whether you're at Fort Benning or Hill Air Force Base or whatever, if you're working for the same, let's say it's L3 or Northrop Grumman, seamless.
Yep.
Very cool.
Yeah.
You mentioned, funding, and that's just one of the hats you wear, but coming up with the curriculum, having folks to teach that, how have you solved that problem?
Yeah, I partnered with Weber State. So one of the other co-founders, Beth Rhodes, was pivotal in identifying how we could fill the need for the DoD. Originally, that was our main focus, was how do we fill positions, mission critical positions within the Department of Defense. And so we built classes for attention to detail, writing, technical writing, and we're really successful at building out those, what she calls badges. And so Beth Rhodes has led, she's the glue for me.
Yeah.
So she has been pivotal in ensuring the military spouses have their community, have their academic solutions, and has been pivotal in building that. So Weber State's been a big partner. Hill Air Force Base has been a big partner. And then as we grow, we're looking at how do you take what we've learned here at Hill Air Force Base and ensure the integrity is intact. That's so important to me, is to not lose pieces of it. You'll see others trying to come up and be like, oh, well, we can do online courses. And it's like, but what about the moms who just had a kid
Yeah.
and don't have daycare? Or, they don't have a laptop. It's just really trying to figure out how we can get after that and how we can kind of change the paradigm to which people think, oh, military spouses go get an online certificate or no assistance. We're just trying to help out as much as we can.
Yeah. And removing barriers oftentimes is enough, right? Like if somebody's driven and they want to improve their lives, setting up this platform, the world's their oyster if they want to just keep going.
Yeah. And it's been, we've just slowly, as we've watched it grow and watch it kind of build out, and it goes back to us like opening other locations and doing things across the nation and the world. The need and the want to shake the cage and make sure that we're taking care of our male spouses is front and center.
Yeah. Really hard to do, and again, not many people could do it, but then you get saddled with the cancer.
Yes.
Probably a pretty crappy day and crappy feelings all around, but how have you coped with that, and do you have any insights and or advice for others that might go through it?
Yeah, oh my gosh. So I think it's such a stigma. People are like, oh my God, you have cancer. Like, that's so scary. And it is scary. Initially, I think I went from UK and trying to open a location in UK to Italy and just taking a moment like on the Amalfi Coast eating pasta and figuring out my life. But it's interesting looking back how much I had to advocate for myself. I remember going to the doctor and being like, I think there's something wrong. Like, I know me and I know my body, so I can tell you if there's something wrong. And the doctor being like, well, you're young and you don't have a history of cancer in your family. And I'm like, cool, but can you check?
Yeah.
And then eventually finding out that I had breast cancer, it was interesting. It was like everything coming kind of like at me at once while we were expanding, while we were doing all these things, but it was good.
Yeah.
Because it allowed me to take a moment and take a step back, really focusing on my babies, my 4-year-old and 6-year-old, and then also kind of taking my time with Rosie Project. Not rushing to meet the need, but ensuring that I keep the integrity of the program together. So we did slow down. We had massive plans for expansion this year. And we're, I think, expanding to 1 location. Yeah. And that's good enough for now.
For sure.
And the other thing I've learned as I've gone along with this is just grace. Like giving myself grace and allowing me to slow down and allowing me to be like, not today.
Yeah.
It's been interesting.
Yeah.
And the people, like I had just announced it on LinkedIn, I felt like I was doing people a disservice, people that knew me a disservice, because I'm talking to them, they think everything's fine, and then they find out that I have breast cancer, or they like see me without my hair. And they're just like, whoa, like what happened? Like, why didn't you tell me? I could have, like, how could I have helped you? Yeah. And so finally I just posted on LinkedIn like, hey, I have breast cancer. It's kind of sucky, but at the same time, there's some goodness that has come along with it. I've slowed down. I've been able to focus on what I want to really get after. Yeah. And the community of people that I have that came to surround me and give me, like, whether it was messages or call me or braid my hair before my surgery, make meals for me. It was so empowering and humbling that like I said, I'm just going with it and we're going to expand, but I've been like completely touched by the community that has reached out.
Yeah. Well, that's wonderful to hear. A lot of good people out there still, despite what everyone says, mostly good people.
Yeah.
And there's very few things in this world and life that like can't wait till tomorrow.
Yeah, exactly.
There's probably a bunch of gurus that would argue on that one, but I
Yeah.
defend that one
Yeah.
pretty hard. All right, so you're coping with this, and then your children, and then growing the Rosie Project. But as you look into the future, like building out the team and new locations, what has you most excited about all of that?
So it hasn't, that's an interesting question. So as we expand the team, we just got a new COO, Brian Butler, who's on the team now, and seeing what a person who's retired from the DoD and their vision brings to the table has been amazing. And just what we were actually talking about earlier is the partnerships.
Mm-hmm.
I shouldn't do it all alone.
No.
And how can I partner with others? How can I bring others into this realm of the Rosie Project and have them feel the same equity that I feel every time I help a military spouse?
Yeah.
So that's really what we're going to be getting after right now.
Perfect. Spread out that the load a little bit. Let
Yeah.
others carry a bit of the freight. It's good for you, and it's also good for them, right?
Yeah.
They get to add value, and you've got somebody that's retired DoD. That's worth its weight in gold.
I know.
Acronyms, red tape, all that stuff we've already
I
talked
know.
about. Right?
Yeah.
It's its own language and culture in and of its own. Well, for those that are out there that think they might be able to help you and or the Rosie Project, best way to get in contact, best way to support.
Aniza Brown at RosieProject.org, or just go to the RosieProject.org.
Very cool.
Yeah.
And I guess we better give Rosie due credit. It's Rosie the Riveter is where you got
Yes.
inspired from.
Yeah.
Yeah.
The whole idea was a lot of people don't know that during the war, as our Rosie the Riveter, you can do it, come help, go back to work or go to work. There was a whole community that kind of picked up the pieces. And then just recently I ended up meeting May, who is one of the original Rosies.
Oh, wow.
And she is a spunky badass lady.
Mhm.
Like she is just lively and amazing and one of my heroes. But you had military spouses, or I'm sorry, Rosies who were actually working. Others were doing laundry. Others were watching the kids. That was the community.
Yeah.
You had companies like Boeing back in the day offering daycare just so they could have these individuals come and work for them. And I'm like, how do we get back to that?
Yeah.
How do we be more embracing of enabling and empowering people to hold careers, be in those positions?
Yeah. Yeah, it was a cataclysmic shift, obviously, in a lot of ways, but for hundreds of thousands of women, right?
Yeah.
At the time. Very cool. Yeah. Well, Aniza, congrats to you and your team on this. I'm sorry to hear of the cancer, but if there's anyone that can show it who's boss, it's you. So, again, appreciate every chance we get to interact, and best of luck with everything going forward.
Thank you. Thank you.
Bet.